Oh, where you watch? Look where you watch. Know where you watch. Choose the right thing to watch. And this enough to watch. Sticky Stucky Sweet TV with Keith Gorgon, Facebook and YouTube. And that enough to watch. The movie star fly take off from Palpatine TV said that. Boom!
A big sound, a play a big tune.
Jah holy Emmanuel, I boy. Jah Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon. Well, Gideon go busting out them head again. So much oppression, poor people face right now. Them crying out for freedom. Them crying out for free speech. Then said them want to stand up like them black liberators, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther and the ancient monarchy where come pave the way, sir. Free up black people from me tear down them fence, yeah. Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon, well, the Gideon go busting out them head. I listen, I see, I the power of the Trinity. Give us the teaching of His Majesty, and we know war, not every...
Blow, Mr. Gorgon, blow! Blow till me dance up me toe!
This is Sticky Stucky Sweet TV with Keith Gorgon. Good, healthy food with the X Factor. So give it a like, share, subscribe, and touch up that notification bell. And that is it. Look at that.
The UIC have a good policy line, and everybody come and tear them down. Tear them down. For some reason, I don't know why now.
I just would like to go back to your idea of banning private funding to electoral campaigns and entirely funding candidates and political parties through a public grant.
Deliver me from my enemy, my God. Set me an eye from those who rise up against me. Deliver me from the workers of iniquity. Save me from the bloodthirsty men. For behold, they lie and wait for my soul. The mighty gather themselves together against me, not for my disobedience, not for my sin, Lord. I have done no wrong, yet they are ready to attack me. Rise up, behold, and help me. You, Lord God of Former, the God of Israel, rose yourself to punish the nation. Show no mercy to the wicked, traitors, Selah. They return at evening, howling like dogs, and prowl around the city. Behold, they spat with their mouths, soda in their lips, for they say, Who art us? But you, Lord, laugh at them, you scruff of all the nation. O my strength, I wish for you, for God is my high tower. My God will go before me with his loving kindness. God will let me look at my enemy in triumph. Right there, sir. Don't kill them, or my people may forget. Scatter them by their power, and bring them down, Lord, our shield. For the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let there be catch in their pride, for the curses and lie which they utter. Consume them in wrath, consume them, and they will be no more. Let them know that God rules in Jacob to the ends of the earth. Selah. At evening let them return, let them howl like a dog and go around the city. They shall wander up and down for food and wait all night if they ain't satisfied. But I will sing of your strength, yes, I will sing aloud of your loving kindness in the morning, for you have been my high tower, a refuge in the day of my distress. To you, my strength, I will sing praises, for God is my high tower, the God of my mercy. Up and running, up and gunning. Sticky Stucky Sweet TV, Keith Gorgon, cassava, passava, mind over matter. Right there, so up and running. Well, right about now, people, up and running again. You see, right now we are talking about the JLP, the PMP and things like that. We have mashed up the JLP for the nasties, what them are doing, the thievery and everything, and I mash up the country. Then we have the PMP again, because as I'm saying, we bore well and talk straight, which is the leader is not strong, the leader in a banger wrong. So I want the rhyme. Anyway, but them not in a power still, but them still have corruption printed all around them. From a long time we are talking that. But nevertheless, what me I say, we are talking about these two main party. And we see, the UIC have a good policy line, and everybody come and tear them down. Tear them down. For some reason, I don't know why, why not give these people a try, because you know what, the best thing in this thing, what I'm going to see right now, because more than, see, it's come with a hang parliament, Yeah, hang parliament. So you have like PMP, Labour and UIC in a government, so them can, so whosoever rule and have the majority, right, to form the government, them can't do as them like again because them are going to have good scrutiny around them. And that is our next, just it come like the integrity commission, That would be our next integrity commission on the ground for the people. The UIC, trust me, because they want to have close eyes on them. So to me, the best thing, how we can see it right now, is a hang parliament. That never happened in Jamaica yet, but that is very popular. We can get by the things man pan track, people. Yeah, man, get by things pan track. So, say, well, then people just go around like you have Christopher Tough Tongue with all this money. Where, how much years this man build this hospital, repair this hospital? Not build a hospital, He might refurbish a hospital in a Montego Bay, Canal region, right? And the thing I go up. It's gonna fucking 14 billion now, people that couldn't build two hospitals, So where them money then uncounted for. Eh? This guy uncounted for. And me don't know what go on. I don't know what's going on. But me I say, well, then we need a hang parliament in this coming general election will come to Jamaica. We get them so them can't get out of hand and do what they want to do again. Because PMP can't hold them accountable. Because them shot themselves in them one foot. Right? Them shot themselves in them one foot. Them can't really hold nobody accountable. So really, me have to highlight these people same way. Nobody don't really highlight them, but you see, as I'm saying, we deal with good things around here. We deal with serious issue. Right? And sometimes you want to make people have a laugh too. We come with some really humoristic and humor type of thing around here, same speed. Or you can call it drama if you want. But we call it humoristic in my one way. So you put a rustic on the humor. Yeah, man. But apart from that, we deal with serious things. So, we have to highlight Joseph Patterson and things like that. They might have good things and things like that, but I don't know. But people not take it. Sometimes, we have to talk about when Marcus Garvey say, people not going to know them back till them, they're not going to know themselves them back against the wall. And that me see it. So we come here to highlight the things. We can't be biased and one-sided and fool like certain people. I tell you, we have to deal with the things straight up. Because we are dealing with some people are, one-sided. The big bloggers me I talk to, them know themselves one-sided. And we know that. Because we don't deal with politics straight like that. We are dealing with Jamaica. Yeah, man. At Jamaica we are dealing with. So we have to want to hear where Joseph Patterson I say, yeah, man, really, in them thing. So here goes. Boom.
And then we'll go and get the persons who are online to introduce themselves.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Klein, and I'm the former Director of Production Finance.
Recording in progress.
Electoral Commission, and previously I was the Assistant General Counsel for Enforcement at the U.S. Federal Election Commission, and I've had the honor and pleasure of working internationally as a consultant for the past 10 years in a variety of countries, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Jouan-Stanstreet. Previously Deputy Head of the Legal Department with the French Political Finance Oversight Body, and I've been working as an international consultant for the last 10 years.
Excuse me. Good morning. My name is Dan Adamson. For the last 16 years, I've been working at the UK Electoral Commission, primarily in the areas of monitoring and enforcement, and I've been absolutely delighted to be part of this group and hoping to provide some really helpful assistance to the Electoral Commission for Jamaica.
Can we ask the persons on screen, starting with Mr. Patterson from UIC?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Patterson. I'm the founder of the UIC.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Brown Johnson. I'm interim president for the UIC.
Good morning, Jasmine Boyle. Charlie,
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
I'm Charlotte Patterson, part of the administration of the UIC.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Neil.
Good morning, everyone. I am Chase Neal, General Secretary for the UIC. Nice to meet you.
On in face-to-face with us is Mr. Gilbert Edwards. Can you just introduce yourself?
Good morning, I'm Gilbert Alexander Edwards, President of the Jamaica Progressive Party.
Okay, so having given that overview, I'm just going to turn it over to the consultant to sort of start the discussion, the engagement. The idea here is to get a feel from you all in terms of, as it relates to campaign financing. Where I think there's a gap now that exists to see what is your expectation in terms of creating that regulatory infrastructure. Certainly when the next general election, which is due, we want to implement that to be a bit more effective as an organization in terms of monitoring of what is happening as relates to campaign financing.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director. I'm hoping you might be able to help to coordinate responses if that's okay, because our questions are to everyone.
Right, but we are recording it. So
yeah, that's true. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm sure that you all have thoughts in terms of the future and going forward, but we thought it might be helpful just to start by asking you all what your experience was of dealing with this new regime as it was in 2020, and if there were lessons that you took from that in terms of specifically about the finance regime rather than other aspects. What was your experience of working with this regime and so forth? It's a very open question, and please feel free to sort of use it to give us any information that you think might be helpful to us.
Hello, Mr. Patterson, you want to start, and then Mr. Edwards, please.
Sure. I just wanted to ask a quick question, Mr. Director. Why is it that the other two political parties are not here?
Invitation has been given to them. Remember, the other two political parties are members of the commission. So the commission, so their representative also already sits on the commission. There was a meeting yesterday with that body. So we have gotten their view from that meeting that was held yesterday. So that so bear in mind that they are members of the commission, so they are already on the commissionerate. So they were at the meeting yesterday, so they gave their view in terms of the process.
Okay, it just seems strange that they wouldn't be here so we can hear their views as well as part of the consultation. But I will allow the proceedings to continue, so go ahead.
I was asking sort of what your experience as a party was of the 2020 election with the new party finance rules in place, whether you found that easy, difficult, whether there were issues that arose for you in terms of understanding and complying with that regime, really. But it's a very open question, and feel free to use it to respond on sort of any aspects that you wish to.
Sure. Well, we did not participate in the last election. Given the factors surrounding it, we had a serious pandemic at the time that the government told us was too serious for us to come together. And so when they finally called an election in the midst of that, we found it inappropriate to participate, and so we did not participate. So we're not privy to their experience, and we can't speak to how the process would have gone during that election.
And have you participated in subsequent elections?
No, they are no party.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So
okay.
I think this would be one of the first major elections since they were formed.
Okay.
The upcoming.
Yeah. There was an election that they elected not to participate.
Yes.
Right.
Just to tell the panel, that we have been joined by Dr. Campbell, who is capacity as the General Secretary of the International Party. But even though he did not participate, Mr. Patterson, but I guess we have observed some aspect of it, and there is is there anything that you think should have been done better based on your observation? Even though your party is not.
Yeah, I would invite our General Secretary, Mr. Chasney, to speak on the matter.
Okay. Over to you, Mr. Neal. Over to you, Mr. Neal.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown, and good morning, all stakeholders. No, the UIC's position on campaign financing, and which would have played into the last election, is that there should be no private funding of campaigns. This puts all participants, all parties, all candidates on an unequal ground. So to level the playing field, we submit that all campaigns and all candidates should be funded publicly. And following up on that, there should be a process by which candidates are vetted, including a good governance test. There should be evidence that candidates possess the skills and the expertise to lead and manage, so they should have at least 5 years of supervisory experience at a high management level, and they should pass a basic standardized governance test, which would prove their eligibility to run and increase the confidence of the Jamaican people. So this is our position. There should be no private funding of campaigns. This cuts out a number of Jamaicans from participating in the process and providing a wider net of representation of the people.
But are you saying then that the view is that the government or the legislature should put an act in place to vet candidates? You know, it should not be the remit of the political party who decide to select that individual to so represent him or her, to so represent the party. Why should it be a government entity who should be tasked with that responsibility? To the point that you'd say that the act should be amended to reflect that.
All candidates that are put forward by the parties must be vetted to show that they have the requisite knowledge and they are really qualified to participate in leading the Jamaican people or participating in legislation. So we are not suggesting that the government selects candidates or puts forward candidates. That remains with the parties. But the candidates must be tested. That is what we put forward. And that also is a way of qualifying for the public funding. So instead of spending willy-nilly, it is those persons who we recommend that the three top candidates in each constituency would be eligible to go forward for funding publicly. And attached to that, it would be illegal for any candidate to solicit or receive any donations from any individual or organization, because this jeopardizes the equal footing that we see.
Can I ask you one question, Mr. Neal? On that basis, would your position be that there isn't actually a need for very much of the regime that's already there? Because if people are publicly funded, there will be no donations. And would you therefore advocate there was no need to report spending either?
We would need to report spending because that feeds into accountability. How the funding from the state was allocated, how was it spent, that needs to be a part of the system that we're suggesting. But the donation from private entities jeopardizes our democracy. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. There's some challenge from you, Mr. Neal. We didn't hear the last part of your comments.
Or can you hear me now?
Better, yes.
As I was saying, the government would not be the ones who would choose the candidates. The party puts forward their candidates. Then there is a legislation that enacts a process of vetting. But for every candidate that's put forward, they must be vetted. And that will also increase the confidence in the citizens that these persons actually deserve state funding. Now, the top 3 candidates who have passed the required test and demonstrated their expertise or experience in management would now be eligible for getting equal access to different media, whether it's newspaper, TV, radio, internet, town halls. So that's what we're putting forward. Everyone who passes this vetting must be then given equal access to campaigning through all available media and also town halls, flyers, and such. As for the reporting of funds spent, that is necessary to ensure that there is the highest level of integrity in the system.
Can I?
Sorry.
No, just go ahead.
Mr. Paxson, you want to respond? Mr. Paxson?
No, go right ahead. Let's hear the question.
I just would like to go back to your idea of banning private funding to electoral campaigns and entirely funding candidates and political parties through a public grant. So, international standards, regional instruments promote actually private funding if it's limited and with some exceptions, because it's a normal expression of voters' support to political parties and candidates. So, I think it's part of being a piece of electoral life and showing some support to the party of their choice. There are very few countries in which private donations are prohibited. I can only think about Uzbekistan right now, where there is an entirely funding mechanism from the state. So in terms of regional instruments, it's not completely in line with what exists in other countries. But if there were an entirely public funding system, how would you envision the system? Would public money allocated to all political parties and candidates regardless of the electoral results? And if so, would the money be allocated before election day, before the start of the campaign period, or after the announcement of the final results?
All right, may I jump in here for a second, Mr. Neal?
Yes, I think about it.
All right, so we have to begin at the beginning. So the first step is, what we're proposing is that we rethink the process. So we're not even funding political parties, we're funding candidates. And we're not allowing those who have the most money to decide who the candidates are. So we're making it 100% publicly funded. So what this means is that the mechanism we put in place now will ensure that regardless of what results came in previous elections or not, what we're looking at is a person saying, hey, I want to run for office. So they raise their hand. Here is the requirement. Like we have now in law, we have requirements for a person to run for office. You must be this age, you must be this citizenship, and so on. So we have rules. Once you meet those rules, you are now eligible for public funding. Not in the form of cash per se, but in the form of access. Because politics is about communicating with your constituents. So you're getting access to the constituents. You get access by the newspaper, the radio, the television, the internet, town hall meetings, and debates. And once you have those access, you are now able to reach the constituents and speak to them, and they can hear you and see you. Also, all your credentials are posted online on our government website to say, Joseph Patterson is running, Neil Cheese is running, here's the constituency, here's his manifesto, his bio, his resume, and every single candidate who meets the basic qualifications, whatever those are receiving the same access to the constituents to communicate to them And so what you have done, you have eliminated the control of those who might form the oligarchy, or those who might have big money, or those who might have tainted money. You're now removing all of those from the process and giving direct access between the candidate and the constituents, and removing any form of manipulation by those who have money, illicitly or otherwise, and allowing the people to hear from the candidates. What we really want in an election, right, is for people to hear the candidates, for the candidates to connect with the people, and for the people to make their democratic decision. As long as you have a system whereby those with the most money can determine who is the candidate, or who is the candidate that gets to be heard the most, then you're undermining democracy. And what we're saying here, let us build democracy by removing the control of big money and giving the people direct access to the candidates so that they can make a decision.
I would ask, you can assume that the purpose of this reform is to promote clean and fair election. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now,
as part of the clean and the part of the process.
But
there are other aspects of it that allows for clean.
Right. Okay. Now, we wouldn't say directly in the last election. We have proved it now for different reasons. However, I was able to observe, to get first-hand information to see what was going on. And for me, what was in place would not work. Because, for example, the period of the campaign when the election is called, if you want to go around the system, you have the resources, you can spend all your money prior to the call of the election. You can purchase all the cards that you want to spend all the money prior to that. So that wouldn't work. The other part of this is that the party that is in office have an advantage because there's no set election day. So they can campaign, do town hall meeting, whatever they want to do. And as soon as they figure that they are ready, they set an election day. That now puts the rest party at a disadvantage in campaigning because you only have the short window. Yeah, I know it's to deal with the finances, but it's a disadvantage to other parties as to when you start, when you spend, where that is concerned. Yeah, you can maybe observe, but it's not enough. There should be regulation where a fixed election is in place, fixed date of election is in place, everybody. And if you're going to set a campaign period, it cannot be when the election is called by the Prime Minister. It has to be a length of time, say 3 months prior to the election day, if an election day is fully set. So that means, you can properly regulate, and it will be fair to everybody because you have a 3-month period in which to campaign, and that 3 months is called campaign period. Thank you.
So maybe to go back to Dan's question, maybe we could turn to Dr. Campbell to have like maybe a clear answer to how this law is seen and the challenges that your parties faced in 2020, because it was the first time these new regulations were enforced. So maybe just to have a bit more of feedback regarding the enforcement of the new regulations during the last electoral cycle.
Sorry, who's that question for?
Dr. Campbell.
But he is at his turn already. He is at a meeting already with you where you have discussed with him.
No. He was not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yesterday he was not a part of that.
No, well, his party was there yesterday. So both parties had their turn already. So this is our 1 hour that we need to now use up. We can't afford to give that to Mr. Campbell if his party already has a chance to give their feedback. How can we have a situation where you told us that the other two parties have used the other day?
It's a part of the minutes.
Yes.
Go back to what happened yesterday. It was more an introductory meeting.
Yeah.
No, man, you just told us that the other two parties had their turn already, and so now it's for the JPP and the UIC. That's what you told us earlier.
No, but
so if that's the case, we need to stick to that.
Without the contentious, you know.
No, I'm not being contentious. I'm just trying to understand if you're giving us
I'm
1 hour to consult, and you are now going to give Mr. Campbell some time after you have given his party time already, then that's not a fair consultation.
No, I mean, I'm saying to you, just in terms of clarification, in terms of my earlier remarks. My earlier remarks would have led you to your comments, fine. But I'm saying to you, what transpired yesterday was basically an introductory meeting with the commission. And you're quite aware of the membership of the commission. What we're trying to do, you know, is to improve on what exists. At the end of the day, it's a fieldwork aspect of it that the consultants are undertaking to come back with some sort of advice.
No, I'm not questioning the work of the consultation or the consultants. I'm saying the PNP and the JLP have already gotten a chance to meet with the consultants and to give their input. And you've allotted 1 hour for the other 2 parties to give their input. And now you're asking Mr. Campbell to come again and take some time up that 1 hour. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. You know what? But I guess you don't understand what transpired yesterday. I'm speaking to you.
No, I don't. If you'd invited us to yesterday's meeting, we would have been able to see it as well. So we'd be very.
No, what yesterday's meeting, sir, and we don't have to be contentious about it. We're just trying to get it, Sean, and correction. What transpired yesterday was the meeting at commission. You could not be invited to the meeting at commission. The members of the commission are members who represent
Mr. Brown, I'm aware of a 3-day consultation, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I'm aware of 3 days of consultation, and I'm aware that 1 hour has been allotted for the JPP and the UIC. In fact, I didn't know that until now, because I asked before, but I didn't get any answer. So I'm just saying, why is Mr. Campbell now going to get time out of 1 hour when we only have 1 hour to hear what the JPP and the UIC has to say?
What we have allocated, because of the timeline that the consultant had, the number of stakeholders, not necessarily the political party, but the stakeholders. In this session, what was done was to get the link of the political parties.
So you didn't know that Mr. Campbell was going to go ahead. All right, go ahead, Mr. Campbell. We are happy to have you here, sir. Go ahead and share your thoughts.
You're not here to dictate what happened.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to understand.
Right, I'm here to say no, the key thing for me, for us, is to see your view. I don't think you need to debate the process. Or what we want from those guys.
For transparency, we have to ask questions about the process. I mean, we don't want a situation where you just do something and we, the citizens, don't ask how that thing is being done. So it's important, understanding that is important. So I'm going to now allow Mr. Campbell to take the floor on your request. Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Could I please speak on behalf of the Commonwealth?
Yes.
We've been retained by the Commonwealth as consultants. As consultants, we wanted, and it was at our request, that we could have this meeting with external stakeholders, which for us is separate from the board meeting, okay? Which was an opening thing. We have very limited time. We have very limited time today. We have very limited time in the country. If you wish to choose to argue this point further, that's fine, but it will be at the detriment of our ability to come forward with recommendations.
And once again, the goal of this meeting is to ask technical questions. We're not interested in the political context around how political parties interact with one another. What we really want to focus on right now is to have clear answers to questions that we have, because as mentioned by Mr. Brown at the beginning of the meeting, we are here actually to provide some technical assistance and guidance on how to further enhance or better enforce campaign finance regulations. And we're extremely interested in having answers to our really technical questions. And once again, I'm really sorry actually that is happening, but as Lisa said, we are interested in the substance, a bit less in political issues that could arise from the questions around campaign finance regulation. So I turned to Mr. Campbell because the question was about the enforcement of the regulations during the last electoral cycle. And as mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, your party is a newly registered political party. So you may have some ideas of proposal on how to change the law, but in terms of your experience regarding the enforcement of regulations, it might be a little bit tricky for you because you didn't participate in the last general election. So that's why we turn to Mr. Campbell to have a technical answer to a technical question. That's what I wanted to mention right now. In terms of further cooperation with the Electoral Commission, do you think that it would be in the interest of your political party to have more a kind of like working relationship with the Electoral Commission, have guidance, maybe trainings to be prepared for the next general elections? Do you think that as a newly registered political party, there's a need for you to be better prepared and trained by the Electoral Commission to just to be a bit more familiar with the regulations and just to have a better chance to comply with campaign finance regulations?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I thought Mr. Campbell was going to speak. We are very au fait with the regulations as they now exist. We do not subscribe to them. We think that they're very weak regulations that continue the process that exists. What would be very useful is for us to look at alternatives, which we're doing here in a very short period of time. Mr. Gilbert pointed out the obvious flaws in the existing system if we're going to try to pursue that. It's obvious that people can manipulate the so-called campaign period versus the non-campaign period. It's obvious that the existing party can manipulate the election calling date. It's obvious that the Electoral Commission is not in a position to fully vet and audit all of the campaign financing sources. It's obvious that in previous elections, recent elections, we've seen where candidates indicate that they spent $0 on their campaign, that everything was spent by their parties, and there were some anomalies in that, and to be able to figure that out. So the challenges are great and significant. And what we've done as a UIC is to carefully analyze elections over the last 80 years, and it's very clear that the best approach is one that is 100% publicly funded, that eliminates funding from all external sources, illicit or otherwise, one which ensures that all candidates are treated equally and equitably and fairly, and will be to making people truly free and fair elections.
You're breaking up.
You know, if that's what we want. So if we want truly free and fair election, our goal must be to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is those who have the most money decides which candidates are heard. And if you want real democracy, you have to make sure that those candidates who are ill-equipped financially are able to be heard. And those candidates who are well-equipped financially are not given an outsized advantage. And so what we've done is taken the time to carefully evaluate the situation. And I've listed for you here in the comment section, a summary view of what we're proposing. And so if the Commission and if Jamaica and if the world is interested in real governance, good governance, then this is a model that will certainly achieve that by eliminating big money, illicit money, and giving all candidates equal opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just bear in mind though that so what the proposal is basically asking for the act to be re-looked at, to be amended. What we want is there exists an act. The consultation is how to make it effective in terms of what's required on it. We know that in terms of their concern in terms of some potential change. But that will have to come through.
I understand, Mr. Brown. So I understand. So if we were to look at the act in its current form, what would we propose as changes to the act? Our position is the act in its current form is fundamentally flawed, is substantively flawed, and does not address the problem that you seek to address. I mean, what you're trying to do, is to ensure fairness and equity in the electoral process. If that is the objective, this act does not achieve that. This act is really what you call a facade on a real problem. So the act will give us the feeling that we're doing something. But in reality, anybody who knows, in fact, recently, on the PNP administration, Darrell Vaz stood up in Parliament and pointed out the flaws in this act. He showed clearly how a politician can raise a lot of money before the electoral period, spend that money in advance, buy the armbands, buy the t-shirts, buy the caps, prepay for so many things. He can prepay the full, if he wanted to and could, he could prepay the full 15 or 10 or 20 or 30 million dollars in advance of the election. And then during the election, still spend the additional 15 million as a candidate and the additional $10 million as a party and so on and so forth. So that the act, while it is a nice sounding and encouraging piece of document that could lull the society into a sense of false security, it is a failing act that will fail the people and continue to perpetuate the very thing that we claim we want to fix. If we're serious about this, let us go back to the government, to the two parties that have controlled this country for 8 years and say, this act, this law, this regulation is wrong, it will not solve the problem, and the UIC as a solution that will really get to the bottom of the problem and give the Jamaican people true and real democracy.
Can I ask you one further question, Mr. Patterson? You mentioned during your comments that you didn't believe that the Commission was in a position to fully vet or audit the spending of parties. Is that for the reasons that you've just elaborated in terms of the flaws in the Act, or are there specific other issues that you would want to raise in terms of why you think the Commission is not able to effectively regulate spending at the moment?
When you create any regulation, whatever it is, you have to look at the ability to ensure compliance, right? The more complex the situation, the more you have to hire staff, the more you have to have financial resources, and so on. The real issue here is whether or not we want to remove from the political process the impact of big money and illicit money from denying the citizens true democracy. If that's the goal, what the UIC has put forward is the solution. So if you just go through all the 7 points I've raised here, you'll see clearly that if we go one by one, it eliminates one or more problem as we go down the list, and so on. And so rather than us playing around with what isn't working and trying to find new ways to tinker with it, why not just go for the real solution of saying to the government and to the people of Jamaica, we bright scholars have taken a time to look at the situation, and having looked at it, we've come to the conclusion that it's not working, it won't work, and here's what will.
And I must say, I'm of the same view as Mr. Patterson. It won't work. And not only that, the issue of vote buying in the field, you can't address that. Haven't been addressed, and how do you address it? We have seen that personally. It has been said, it's been known from people, your neighbor, how much they get and all of that stuff. People even say get building material to influence their community. It's a lot of different ways that is skirting around the issue that is not going to be regulated in that. And that's why I'm suggesting that campaign period should be the minimum of the 3 months. And you can't do that except there's a fixed election date, which is going to take the legislation, which the Prime Minister campaigned on also in 2016 that there be a fixed election date. And he hasn't done that. And so because this, to have that control is an advantage to them and disadvantage to any other party. And so I fully agree with Mr. Patterson that this is not going to work.
But is it a concern that is how do you make the current arrangement effective? The concern that is coming across, is the ability of the regulator to be able to regulate based on what the act requires.
Yeah.
Is the ability of the EOJ, ECJ to be able to do the necessary investigation or to ensure that what is actually spent for the campaign, be they purchase whatever before. But if you are able during the campaign period to so be able to monitor and monitor the activity that reflects some level of expenditure during the campaign period. So even though you buy a pair of things so much months ago, you're not going to use them until the election period. So if the regulator, being ECJ, in this case, able to have the infrastructure and the capability in place to see when to determine that X party spend X on an armband, X party spend X on camp and a certain amount of
But the regulation wouldn't be against it because the regulation is giving a period.
No.
So whatever you purchase
it allows. It allows for whatever expenditure that is reflected in the campaign period.
Might I come in at this point, right? I think it's been really helpful to hear the commentary, but I think that the summary of this, our purpose really was to understand views on the existing regime, on improvements that could be made to it, and any experience we could bring to bear from existing elections. And I think what we're hearing very clearly from both UIC and JPP is that you don't think it can be improved other than to be effectively thrown away and started again.
Absolutely.
And on that basis, I don't think we can really take it much further in that respect.
One quick question. So given that's the conclusion, when you give your report, will your report state clearly two things? One, that the JPP and the UIC believes that the current system is unworkable and should be thrown out. And two, what it should be replaced with. Will your report state that?
No. The consultancy was to assist us to develop the infrastructure to do the necessary monitoring and reviews under the current act. So it's not their remit to say you throw it on and to put whatever.
No, I'm not saying it's their remit.
The consultancy that we are
I'm saying in their report.
To develop the framework.
Mr. Brown, let me just clarify for you. I am not suggesting that it's the remit of the consultants to suggest that we throw out the existing legislation and regulations. I'm saying in their report, they will report their findings. So their findings would be that in consultation with the JPP and the UIC, the consensus from those two parties is that the current system and regulation is not going to achieve the objective that you have outlined that it wants to achieve. And they're proposing instead a different solution. And here's what they're proposing. So you're reporting back to those who you're supposed to be reporting to. I'm assuming it includes the Jamaican people, and telling them that this is what you have learned from your consultation. Or is it that your consultation was meant to simply provide a rubber stamp to what you want to achieve?
Mr. Patterson, we will report the views that have been expressed during the meeting. So obviously, yes, we will mention that. Obviously.
Excellent. That's what I want to make sure. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there was one point that I thought it might be worth just putting across just for clarification, because there's been a very interesting discussion about the parliamentary terms and the timing of elections and dates and so on. And just really from my personal background, you may or may not be aware, but the UK for centuries had no fixed parliaments It was entirely a matter for the Prime Minister to decide when they wanted to call the next election. And all of the issues that you both raised applied to the UK in exactly the same way. Well, not all the issues, but most of them. And in 2015, in 2011, I think it was, the law was changed and a fixed-term Parliament Act was introduced. I'm afraid it lasted about 10 years and has now been repealed. I don't intend to go into a lengthy discussion about the reasons for that and so on, but I think it's just worth making that point just for context and for clarity. But I think in fairness, whilst I think the impact of parliamentary terms on the political finance regime is relevant to the issues that we're thinking about, the concept in general of whether or not there are fixed-term parliaments, I would say, is probably outside the remit of what we are looking at.
Yeah.
So whilst, as Barbara has said, we will reflect the opinions that have been expressed in our report, that's not something that I would imagine we would be actually making a recommendation about or expressing a view. And I think it's just important that we're frank with you about that, so you're clear.
So, could I be clear on, just so I'm very clear, what is your objective? What is really your objective as a consulting body? What are you trying to achieve? Just for clarity for me and the others here.
Okay, I would summarize it as our remit is to look at how the law has been implemented to date and to provide guidance on how we think the implementation in terms of the policies and the procedures could be strengthened under the current law, right, so that the current law is enforced, rather than assessing the pros and cons of the current legislation. However, as part of that, we would be certain to make, to identify areas where we feel that the law, in light of international standards and good practice, could be strengthened. So, for example, this is only by way of example, and one of the things that is quite apparent is the law does not define what is an election expenditure, okay? In many, many countries across the globe, this is a problem, but it's been addressed by defining it to include costs incurred before a campaign period for materials that are used during the campaign, okay? So we have heard and taken on board one of the criticisms that you have identified, and we can certainly, although our goal here is not to do an assessment of how the law could or should be improved, we will not ignore that, and we will put forward some ideas as the inadequacies and possible solutions in light of international law and good practice. Does that help?
So if I'm understanding correctly, you have a predefined position which is based on the idea that the existing laws and regulations are really what we need, and what you're looking for is just to tighten up little screws here and there to make sure it continues in place to deliver whatever results you're trying to achieve, really. Am I correct in saying that?
I'm very sorry, but because of the transmission, part of what you said was garbled. Could I ask you to repeat?
Sure, no problem. So my understanding is that you have a predetermined set agenda that says this is what we want to achieve, and your goal is really to tweak the system to make sure it works the way somebody intends for it to work. It's not really about looking at how effective it is in terms of achieving equity and equality and real democracy. It's more about, we have this carved out agenda that somebody has set, whoever those somebodies are, and you want to make sure we fit within that agenda and pursue that agenda, regardless of whether or not it's truly achieving democracy, equality, and equity for our people.
We have been tasked with a technical assistance program, which is focusing on the current law and making it as effective as it can be. So that is our remit, and to come up with, make sure that there's the right policies, procedures, and resources available to implement the law. However, we are not blind. We are not buying on to any particular objective here. And if we feel that there are gaps within the legislation, we will be identifying it. But this is different from sometimes we get remits to where the remit for us is to look at how the law should be changed or to identify the particular objectives to be obtained. That is not part of this technical assistance program.
So in your effort, the laws will not be changed. So your effort that you're undertaking will not change the law.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to be more clear. What we are saying is that our main objective is to make sure that there's mechanisms in place to enforce the current law. However, okay, that's the remit, okay? However, where we feel that there are deficiencies in the law, such as the gap in the definition of election expenditure, then we as professionals will be highlighting those things. But we are not here with the primary objective of assessing whether the law is whether the law should be amended. That's not our goal. Is not to provide an exhaustive, comprehensive list of legislative proposed reforms.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as the changes keeps in place what exists, that's okay. If the changes proposed does not keep in place what exists, then it's not okay. That's the idea here, right?
No, I'm really sorry. We have a limited remit in this phase. We've not been asked to do an assessment of reforming the law, okay? But we are not blinded to the fact that there may be deficiencies. So, for example, I've already highlighted one. It may be that we find that there are other issues that need to be clarified, or let me take another one, whether the level of transparency, we're not here to do a full assessment of whether the law and the way it's implemented meets all the international standards of good practice. But we're professionals, we are experts in our area, and we will highlight them as we come across them. But that is, I want to be clear that
I think I fully understand. So basically, whatever you think needs to be changed is what will be addressed. If you don't think it should be changed and it's not addressed, what we think is not that important.
No, I think you're putting words into my mouth. I will discuss with all colleagues to see whether they can make it clear.
Well, you'd appreciate, they don't need to adjust or amend the law. This consultant can have that impact on that. That's why local legislation need to do that. That's in ECJ, we can make recommendations. But the changing of the act itself or amendment of the act is a remit of the legislation to do so.
No, I know. I'm just saying we're having a consultation, right? In a consultation, you look at whatever is brought to the table. But I do understand, Mr. Brown. I mean, the ECJ, for example, as we all know, is heavily, run or heavily directed by the two traditional parties. So your views are highly represented, or their views are highly represented at the ECJ. This is one of the few times we're consulting here in 1 hour. So I do understand that. Mr. Chase, I'll yield the floor to you, sir.
But the ECJ, will the ECJ be reporting to Parliament on the views of the two political parties represented here?
No, the report, what they're doing now is to assist us develop the infrastructure. It's not a report that we're going to go to Parliament to say, but when we develop the infrastructure and the guidelines and the strengthening of that, all stakeholders, not necessarily political, all stakeholders will be aware of the systems that will be put in place for future monitoring as relates to campaign financing. So in ours, it is to assist us to develop our capability. After it is done, the stakeholders, everybody, by extension, the wider country, be aware of the process. How we seek to the necessary policy document, guidelines, etc., that we'll undertake. So everybody be aware of what is out there. It's not a matter of saying a report will be presented to Parliament in terms of this consultation. And that's not the intention.
Who's paying for this consultation?
It's not.
Mr. Brown, who's paying for this consultation?
It's an arrangement we have with and to be transparent about it, with the Commonwealth Secretariat. The Commonwealth Secretariat offers support in the form of grant funding to different entities across the Commonwealth. So we are taking advantage of that support that's available in the form of grant aid
Understood. And just one more question, just for clarity. And what does the Commonwealth hope to achieve by sponsoring this consultation?
They are consulted at the Commonwealth. Commonwealth is not secured, is not president. But the intention of the support that you are aware, the support that they offer to across the country, the technical assistance, is a support they offer to different entities to strengthen their capability. And you would appreciate, you want us to strengthen our capability, that we can do a better job, Mr. Patterson, of how we monitor all the activities that are campaign, but as required under the Act.
Okay, no, we have
So it's organizational support that the Commonwealth is giving to us.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
All right. I think thanks for allocating your time, Mr. Edwards. Yeah. Thanks again, Mr. Patterson and his team. It's certainly will impact on the thinking of the consultants.
Yes, thank you.
And they prepare their report.
Yeah.
But we've been in touch with Mr. Patterson.
Sure, thank you.
To bring your potential council candidates in terms of something that they ought to be aware of as we get closer and closer to the election.
Appreciate it. No problem.
Again, thanks everybody. We appreciate
Thank you very much.
Taking the time out.
Thank
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
A big sound a play a big tune.
Jah holy Emmanuel, I woy. Jah Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon. Well, Gideon go busting out them head again. So much oppression, poor people face right now. Them crying out for freedom. Them crying out for free speech. Then said them want to stand up like them black liberators, like Malcolm X and Martin Luther and the ancient monarchy where come pave the way, sir. Free up black people from me tear down them fence, yeah. Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon. The Gideon, I'm a Gideon, well, the Gideon go busting out them head. I listen, I the power of the Trinity. Give us the teaching of His Majesty, and we know war, no devil philosophy. Not tentacle for man's skin is of no more significant well to the color of his eye. Remember all the war done in 1935.
This is Sticky Stucky Sweet TV with Keith Gorgon. Good, healthy food with the X Factor. So give it a like, share, subscribe, and touch up that notification bell. And that is it. Look at